All right, and welcome to season 2, episode 1 of Stitches and Picks. I'm Dave.
I'm Kristen.
Yeah, back to the old show intro. Before we get into
Yeah.
this one, do a little quick housekeeping. Want to thank everybody who was with us in season 1. Thank you to all of the people in Italy for whatever reason who are listening to this. Glad to have you on board, and yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, agree.
Um, and everybody else in France and around the states. Um, we ended season 1 with kind of a cliffhanger, with the plan to do an
Ugh.
additional episode, and then we realized in going over our notes that well, we kind of covered everything in that last one. So
We were too efficient.
exactly. Um, so we didn't do another one and tried to have a healthy and happy holidays, which we hope you
Tried.
did as well. Yeah, we'll get into that. So we're trying a new format with season 2 where we're gonna follow Kristen and her journey in actually launching Stitches with her proclamation of not Stitches, casting nets.
I was gonna say, I'm like, are
Um,
we calling it stitches for shorthand? Is this like our lingo now? I was like,
Well,
that's
at this
cool.
time, well, yeah, I mean, if you keep laboring it'll be stitches instead of knits. But uh, um, yeah. So if you hadn't listened to that last episode of season 1, Kristen announced that she was going to launch February 18th, and so the idea for season 2 is that we're going to follow that arc, as well as following through on some of the resources that we've used to think about and launch our ideas, to give you a good idea of how we would go to market with targeting an audience, researching an audience, setting up those types of things, and getting your thing off the road. So Kristen, even with the best laid plans, some stuff happens. So why don't you fill everybody in on what happened between December and now, middle of January, as we
Yeah.
record this.
So yeah, best laid plans. I was super stoked about my launch date being February 18th and had even like a full week off from my day job where I could really focus in on it. So that was the plan.
Mm,
I have a toddler. And as I've now learned from more experienced parents, there is no other time in life that you are more sick than when from your kid is 0 to like 3 or 4, I think it
I
was.
can attest to that. Yep. Yep.
So I got strep and I had some like post strep issues as well. So life has been fair survival mode for the most part and still trying to do my J job. So needless to say, it's been sleeping, kiddo,
Hmm.
dinners, and like work
Hmm.
and day job, and that's it. So I feel like shit. I feel like utter shit because I've been super stoked about launching in February.
And then life got in the
And
way.
I'm like, well, and I feel like it's such an excuse because there's so much of we've talked about this, and I clearly like the reason why we have this conversation and why we started it was the accountability aspect. Like, hey,
Right.
someone else who's in a similar situation to me that can really like resonate. We can bounce ideas off each other, kind of keep pace with each other. And
Hmm.
I just feel like I'm really glad that we came up like we're using this to our advantage in some ways, like, and it wasn't supposed to be that I was laid up for more than 2 weeks or whatever, but
Right.
uh we're taking this opportunity to go, okay, for the season then we could actually hold me more accountable kind of as we move along and what this actually looks like.
Right.
Um and part of me is like a big part of me is pissed. I'm pissed. This is awful. This feels gross. I don't like it. I had all these aspirations and I haven't made it. And I'm not
Hmm.
going to make my goal because of this, because I was literally had 3 full days. And I was even had the intention of, I found a tech editor and I was going to get some of her time to do one-on-one during that time frame. Luckily, I didn't schedule it, so I didn't like lose out on the money, and I don't think she would have. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But the I had very little time between when I announce it and my actual launch and the things I need to get done. And I know that I will not be able to complete it on time. So
Mhm.
now that like I'm on day 2 of feeling like a 75% human, um, I am starting to like think how I get back into that.
Right. And it's interesting you bring it up, but and it is absolutely frustrating when you have the plans and you took the time to schedule things out and map things out, and then
Yeah.
you know um but I've been reminded of similar situations just through we've talked about the things that we're seeing on LinkedIn, right? Like um at the time of this recording, a lot of layoffs in the tech sector, or um there was a guy, I don't know him personally, but through marketing conferences around the Twin Cities, and having formerly been a part of the Twin Cities agency, you know um, community, there was a guy who is well known in that circle who ended up having a massive health scare, and
Oh
big
God.
big surgery, and was out for about a year from his group. And then while he was out,
Goodness.
um, one of the senior leaders of that agency also died. Well,
Oh
not
my
also
God.
died, but did die. Um, and he's got this great post on how all of these major things are a major component of actually having your own business, running your own business, or side thing, um, because life happens, and
Yeah.
you don't work in a vacuum, right? Um,
No, not at
and
all.
people always want to just talk about, I started this side thing, I made six figures in 6 months, and it's been amazing ever since then, right? I mean, we talked about this in one of the first episodes on the reason why we
Yeah.
wanted to start this thing, is the fact that
Yes.
we listen to that and we're like, yeah, that's not genuine though, because everybody
It feel
struggles,
yeah.
everybody has, the hard time doing it, and life gets in the way. It's part of the process.
Yeah.
Hopefully not to that extent where you're, um, out of commission
Dying.
for a year. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's, you don't want to
Yeah.
account for those things, but I think you should at least have some grace with yourself when that kind of stuff happens. You know what I mean? Like, adapt and move on. And yes, you didn't hit the initial goal, but you're able to hit it, what, 6 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now? Have you even, come up with a new date yet? Or are you still
So
working
I
on that?
started to think about that, and the problem that I'm running into is it's the product itself is a sweater, and it's not
Mm-hmm.
a light sweater. It's not
Right.
something you wear in the spring or like. So part of me is like, I could do a soft launch. I could get it
Mm-hmm.
done, pick a soft launch, market it a little bit, roll with it, see what happens. And then come fall, really market it again and that's what I think I'm gonna end up doing. So I'm probably gonna end up launching, I would guess late March, depending on when I can get in with some of these like, or maybe find a different tech editor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the hardest part, and maybe it won't even be that hard. Maybe I'm setting myself up for and making some gross assumptions here, but finding test knitters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I've continued to post on TikTok too, even though I posted when I was like, hey, so bear with me, I have strep, like, and just like still posted because I was just like in this mode where I was like, I need to feel like a normal human for 2 seconds, and I actually posted about
Right.
something that wasn't even related, um, and I got like great response from that. So I was like, okay, I can be off. That's kind of like I'm getting on a total different tangent. I think I can still do a soft launch. I
Mm-hmm.
can get the website up. I can get all the things, the tech pieces in place. And I imagine I'll have like no sales, and then I'll just go back for and refresh it for a full marketing launch in the fall. Because I at this point, like if I wait and wait and wait and wait,
Mm-hmm.
like it's not that's not going to actually help me launch the
Right.
damn thing.
Well, and there could be some advantages of doing the launch now, right? You might end up being surprised, right? Like,
Yeah.
with some of the stats we've gotten for this, it way more successful than we thought it would be. the first season. So
It's
that
not just our family members listening.
yeah, exactly. It's been sweet. But you know who's always in need of a sweater? Scientists in Antarctica. So maybe you could geofence people who are trapped in a snowstorm.
And they'd have to be knitters though.
There has to
So
be a
now we're talking
subsegment of
a
people.
very small segment.
Mm-hmm. But a segment
I
nonetheless.
mean, people still the knitters who are like obsessed level, like my
Right.
level or above of obsessed. Not like technique wise, like good at whatever. People
Right.
who are just obsessed with knitting will knit whatever they want throughout the year. Like
Right.
I typically do shift to lighter items in the summer, but I still knit. And people
Mm-hmm.
knit tank tops and t-shirts and like shirts all the time. So
Knitted
like
tank tops is a
I
thing,
actually
really?
have what's that?
Knitted tank tops is a thing,
Oh hell
really?
yeah, it is. They're awesome. You knit in pure organic cotton, or like bamboo. Like there's a bunch of different fibers
Hmm.
that you can use that are lightweight. Plus like wool, if you get a blend with like silk, it's a really
Right.
nice drape and it has like yeah, there's I actually have a tank top in the works right now, but I don't have the pattern written up because I just stopped because I was like, I'm just gonna do this. It was like a year ago and I was like, I regret not writing anything down, but I have a tank top in the works too. And I was like, oh, I could shift gears. I'm like, no, stop doing that. Complete one thing.
Right.
So,
Right.
sweater it is. Tank top later.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, knitting is becoming a bit of a thing. In all of our conversations, well, at least in my world, right? I mean, don't give me that
Okay, I was
look.
gonna say, I'm
Okay.
like, that just has to be you. The
No.
pandemic did wonders for knitters.
Well, it's been interesting because in talking with you, I've learned a lot about it, and um, what came up the other day? It was surprising. There was like some actor that's in a bunch of like action movies that you would not expect um
A
would
man.
have this hobby. Yeah, who's a huge
Yeah.
knitter apparently, and it's like, wait,
I don't
what?
know who you're talking
You know?
about, but it's super common for men to knit. They just don't talk about it. Like
Right,
it's it's not just a female hobby. Like
right,
when it originated, like everybody was knitting because it was a matter of like you are making clothes to wear. It wasn't a
right.
hobby. It was like something that was a necessity.
Yeah, and I don't mean the comment to come off as
No, that's fair.
sexist or anything. I'm just as I'm learning more, and then you find the random examples of somebody being, oh yeah, I'm a huge knitter, and you're like, what? Okay,
Yeah.
interesting,
Yeah.
interesting. Because everybody's got their thing, and that's awesome. It's just
Yeah.
interesting when you find out, right? Like, I mean, it
It is.
wasn't this guy, but if it was, it would be like if Jason Momoa was like, yeah, I'm a knitter. Right? Huh?
I mean,
Okay.
that'd
I
be
mean,
amazing
he
on his
very well could
end.
be,
I'm just
and that would be
saying.
awesome, and it would be on brand for him, or at least my perception of his
Yes, it
brand.
would.
um. So anyway, this season, um, okay, from the time of this recording, your original launch date would be like a month. So
Yeah.
clearly, that's not going to happen.
Nope.
Um, the for the arc of this season, it's gonna be 12 episodes, I think, where we cover all these things, and we're gonna follow a process, at least for some of the episodes. Some inspiration on Content Inc. model, which is a fantastic model. If anybody hasn't looked into it, no affiliation, but this book is legit. So highly
I
recommend
mean,
that.
like asterisk side note on that. Not reinventing the wheel
Right.
when you're doing something is genius. You
Right.
don't need to reinvent the wheel. Like if someone has a proven way of doing something, why not steal with pride? Give credit where credit's due.
Exactly. Exactly.
Steal with pride is a too big of a statement. We use it at work a lot. So like give credit and utilize and share and give credit.
Right.
So
Exactly. Yeah, and it's we're not going to say that we're, doing it absolutely perfectly or advocating it absolutely perfectly. We're using it as a lens to try to help focus some perspective on a way that you can go about and
Yeah,
figure out these things, right? It's not the way, it is a way to help
couldn't agree more.
focus in on, who are you trying to address, who are you trying to help with whatever your product or service actually is going to be.
And
So
this is a
looking
topic
forward
that
to
you and I
those.
talked a lot about too, though.
Hmm.
Because we talked a lot about like what are our businesses based off of? Is it a service? Is it a product? Is it a content? And based on everything that we worked through prior to even like looking at the Content Inc. model, we had made a decision that this fits the way that we want to do, like that we're kind
Hmm.
of approaching our businesses. So it wasn't like we just believed it was one size fits all, this is what is going to work for both of us. It was like, oh, this actually makes sense for the way that I think about work, the what my background, what I want to do with this, that type of
Right.
thing. So it wasn't like we aren't saying this is going to fit everybody, but maybe it does, and it's something to consider.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's good. That's definitely going to be the focus on the next episode here is, where do the your knowledge base as well as what you're interested in doing align with what the actual market, or
Yeah.
audience interests would be. And that's a really important question that even big enterprises aren't asking themselves,
Nope.
which has always astonished me. But yeah, so anyway, I'm looking forward to those conversations, and we will see you in the next episode of season 2. Thanks.